Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. This is really a really special day, and I am so thankful to all of my friends and to all of my subscribers that have brought me here. That I have reached 2,000 subscribers, and sometimes it seems to me like it took forever. Mostly because I was hanging at 2,990 to 2,999 for 3 weeks. And it would go up a few and then down a few and then up a few and then down a few. And then Cynthia yelled at my audience a couple days ago, and I instantly had 2,001.
I'm so great at yelling.
And then the next morning, I got up and I was down to 1,997 again.
Damn.
Okay, everybody, new trick. Get Cynthia to come on your channel and tell her, yell at people.
That's
okay,
right.
Check.
I'm
That's
really
right.
okay with that. I'm so okay with that.
A little
But
too
now-
okay with that.
But I went over 2,000 again a week ago, and I have stayed over 2,000 for the whole week. So I think we finally arrived, and this is here to stay. And so the main purpose that I wanted to do today was to thank all of the people that brought me here. And some of the people that are on here are some people that have been with me from the beginning, like Junkshop and Jen, that really helped me launch my channel way back when I first got started. And some people are people that I've met along the way, like Jyuni and B. And some people, just everybody just loves Cynthia. So you can't do something like this without Cynthia, because Cynthia has also contributed a great deal to this channel, because every time I have her on, everyone just says how much they love Cynthia. And same with Purple. Everybody loves Purple. I mean, you can't do a stream without Purple if it's a celebration. So thank you all for being here.
It's a fact. It's a fact. We were talking about Purple last night. I had Jim Hall on from Atheist Edge, and he was like, man, Purple's the best. And he was drinking, so I had to correct his pronouns a couple times, but he was just ranting about Purple, and I agree 100%. Purple's wonderful.
I don't
totally
get hung up on the pronouns.
undersubscribed. Totally undersubscribed.
And thank you for the super chat, Secular. That is much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm still confused about my own pronouns, so I'm not going to get anybody on them.
People ask me at work, say I live in such a progressive area that people come up to me at work, Purple, and they say, oh, I don't want to mispronoun you. And I just tell them, I don't care. Just don't call me late for dinner. If I'm not at work, I prefer, they or he. But at work, I'm just kind of flexible. But it's nice to have, this younger generation up to, I think the oldest person was probably like 45 that asked me. And they were, I was like impressed. I've never had anybody ask me that before. So anyway, sorry, Granny.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, and I realize that for some people, it's very important that they need that, yeah.
There's a level of affirmation. Yeah, that's the word.
It's my favorite word, Jen. Affirmation. We all need it.
I think we all need affirmation. I mean, in different ways.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, everybody's soul would, and I'm saying soul in the non-religious terms. I haven't gone religious, but everybody needs that occasionally to lift them up, because I mean we've all suffered depression. I don't care if anybody says I've never had depression in my life. Everybody's had a moment in their life where they've actually had actual depression, not just being a little bit sad. And we all need that bit of affirmation to help us lift above that. So that's why you don't be an asshole to people. If somebody tells you that, and it goes both ways. If somebody says to you, my pronouns are this, try and respect them. On the other side, if somebody misgenders you, be nice back to them, because generally speaking, they're not being an asshole. If they're being an asshole, fine, then be an asshole back to them. They deserve it. But generally speaking, they're not.
I take it as a teaching moment. If a kid asks me, are you a boy or a girl? And the parents are always like, no, shh. And I'm like, no, it's okay. This is how they learn.
Do you ever
squat down and
answer that
and tell them?
Do you ever just answer that with
Absolutely.
Yes.
It depends on what they say. Are you a boy or a girl? Yeah, exactly. I should just say yes. No, that would confuse the child more. Let's not.
Yeah, it's a good answer to an adult though.
Like in my family, me and my nieces and nephew, the oldest group of them, we have like the Uncle B joke, and we've been doing that for years. And when I saw them a couple years ago, I said, should we tell her about the Uncle B? And she said, no, she's already confused. Let's just leave it alone. We'll worry about that next visit. I'm like, okay. She's like, give her a couple more years.
Kids adapt really well, though. Kids find it the easiest to deal with.
Yeah.
And kids are also the most observant about things. You can be somebody who, as a trans person who has no problems in general life, you pass by and you don't have to deal with anything, and you walk up to a kid after years and years of nobody ever misgendering you, and the kid will go, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And it's like, where's that from?
Well, my landlord / friends, they have a son that just turned 3. And he's hyper intelligent anyways. He's like 5 or 6 years old in his head. But they just told him, like, okay, daddy wants to be called they now. And he's used to that now. And so he calls daddy they and calls me he, because they asked me what I prefer. And I said, well, and I lean towards more guy, but I'll take either one. So they just respected it. And I didn't even ask for it. And they taught him to call me he. And he's been doing it for months now. And he's just on the ball with it. And I think it's great because they if he wants to wear a dress, they let him wear a dress for the day. Whatever. They just let him be him. Yeah. He's like, I don't cut my hair again, B. I want it to be long. And I'm like, okay, I won't cut your hair, Rowan. It's fine.
We're not born with an innate sense of being a bigot.
Yeah.
That is taught. Bigotry and prejudice is freaking taught. It's not natural.
Yeah.
Either taught or accidentally environmental. Like someone is doing it around them. Right.
My grandkids don't know that Robin is trans. And we've been trying to figure out, how and when do we tell them? But the problem isn't the kids, it's their parents. I don't think the parents want the kids to know that Robin is trans. So
how old are they?
How old are the kids?
Yeah.
9, 7, 5, and 3 or 4.
There'll be no problems with the kids.
Yeah. The first
that,
3 definitely will get it. The last one might have to explain later.
Right. But I don't think the parents would let us tell them is the problem. I think they would be horrified if we told them.
Yeah.
Let me guess. They still go to a church in our religion.
Oh yeah. One of them is a deacon in the church.
Oh, well. Amen.
Amen.
I mean, I realize you're talking about a fairly fundy church there, Granny,
yes.
But it does also depend on the church because some churches don't have problems with trans people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very few in my observation.
Yeah, it seems to be the way in the US. You have a lot less that are fine with it, whereas like in Australia, even the Catholic Church over here doesn't even hammer trans people that bad. It's like they kind of step back from it because it's not worth it.
Well, again, in the U.S., like everything else, it varies state to state. In Minneapolis, there are a number of churches that have no problem with gay weddings.
Right. Yeah, I think of like my patients. So you all know what I do for a living. I say it every time I'm on a stream. So I won't say it now. However, I have noticed that I get kind of concerned for some of my patients who may move to a different state because I'm very concerned about them being able to reach to get their care.
Yeah.
I know that I had a patient that moved recently to Atlanta, and I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And I was able to send them a lot of, different providers that, work specifically with trans women that live with HIV. And I think I sent her about like a dozen, different providers and also different organizations that, would still be equivalent to what she can get in Illinois as far as like being able to get her medication. But if you go to a place like Alabama, where they're eroding.
Where I live.
Yeah, where you live, Granny. There's actually an issue where providers are not able to get licensed specifically to treat people, who are transgender. Matter of fact, I was listening to Chris Hayes's podcast. What is it called? How did we get here? And they were speaking with I forgot. I think her name is Izzy something. I forgot her last name, but she's a provider that's in Georgia, specifically in Atlanta, and she started a providers network where she was able to provide telehealth services to different folk who happen to be in adjacent states, so that they can speak with her and still be able to get care and get medications and things of that nature. But because these particular laws are being passed in like states like Alabama, she no longer can practice in Alabama, which would cause her patients to do like this crazy, insane 2 to 3 hour drive just to see her, just so that they can go ahead and get that particular care. And we're seeing that oftentimes with a lot of different states, that they're eroding and change, and then coming up with these insane laws, that is really not based on science. They're just based on archaic social norms and what is normal
and religious beliefs.
And religious beliefs, exactly. Well, Western civil sensibilities and religious beliefs, not beefs. Sometimes they are beefs, but that's something different. Kind of go hand in hand. And so since they're not able to get the care, and that's what really kills me, is that oftentimes when lawmakers come up with these particular laws, they don't even bother speaking to providers, to scientists, read any studies.
They don't
None
care.
of that. They don't care.
They don't want to. They don't care. They believe what they believe, and that's just it. Yep.
Because God said some bullshit like that.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, you forget, like, there are lawmakers that were all like, oh, in the case of a legitimate, sexual assault, like, the body has a way to shut that down. You're not going to get pregnant from a sexual assault.
Yeah.
Republicans said that in fucking Congress. Full
It's
stop.
a roll of the dice, just like any other unprotected
Yeah,
sex.
Texas is just getting out of control at this point.
Yeah. There's a good example of what you're talking about that's happened in the UK recently, Cynthia, where the Minister for Equality, Liz Truss, there was a panel in the UK to talk about what they can do to improve not just trans rights, but LGBT rights in general. She did not like the outcome of the panel, so she disbanded it and assembled her own new one.
Oh yeah, because that makes sense.
Yeah, because these experts who actually know what they're talking about didn't agree with her personal beliefs.
Yeah, it's kind of wild going on in the UK when it comes to LGBT rights. We just reviewed an article last week on the nonprofits where the so there's a talk about banning conversion therapy in the UK. And you have like Christian organizations that's doubling, tripling down on like offering, counsel the gay away counseling services. And none of the people who are actually offering counseling are PhDs. They're not psychologists. They're not psychiatrists. They're none of that. They're just the only doctor. The only doctorate that they got is a doctorate of theology. And then I believe that one of the articles that we referenced actually said that the religious organizations were saying that if they are not able to provide conversion therapy for people who want to be converted from being gay, then you are stifling their rights, their right to, to speak.
They want to rename it. They want to call it coping therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, isn't it dreadful? At the moment, you've got states where the GOP is trying to push through laws that will remove rights from LGBT and especially trans people at the moment. And the UK is still worse. That just says how bad it is in the UK. I feel sorry for anyone LGBT who lives in the UK because there's no escaping it. It's the entire country. At least in the US, if you're in a bad state, you could maybe consider moving states.
I just tell everybody, just come to Chicago. Especially once I talk to other people like in different states. I'm like, just come to Chicago. We got a cot for you.
The problem is that moving to another state just isn't practical for many people.
Oh,
Yeah.
especially anyone who, especially a lot of people who are LGBT, because on the whole, the demographic for LGBT people is the less wealthy. So,
well, you know,
you're looking at people who cannot afford to move, so they're stuck.
Yeah. Last year, I wouldn't have been able to move if it wasn't for this community donating over $2,000 for us.
Yeah, that's real. And there's that. I like that. There's also like different foundations that are starting to spring up. That's specifically offering financial assistance to like transgender people because it's so much more difficult for them to do things like get a job, because they get clocked for their gender. And or even like not even experience like prejudice and bias even if they happen to get a job. And
real quick, I just want to acknowledge the super chat from Ricardo Oliveira. Thank you very much, Ricardo.
Oh, thanks, Ricardo. Hi, how you doing?
Very nice.
I just want to say one thing to Ox real quick. First of all, Ox, my joke pronouns are be-bem. And I decided that was perfect because I don't like the they, them. I don't like the he or the she. It's just be them. And biddies, when I was growing up, biddies were hens, like little irritating hens, and they called older women that sat around and gossiped and nitpicked. So I'm not searching for biddies, but since you said boobies, okay.
Everyone likes boobies,
right? Even gay men love boobies.
Yeah. I want to fix mine.
I found that out with my fiance that gay men were really obsessed with big breasts.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but we went to parties and gay guys wanted to play with her breasts.
Yeah, my personal
but they don't want to have sex with them. They just want to play with boobs. It's true.
My personal opinion is most people are actually bi, but it's the degree of bi-ness that people have that varies.
I think you're right.
I feel the same way. Like I do. Like I don't think. I think there are very few people that are hard on one line. Like regardless of what side it is,
because it's a spectrum, and that means you're going to have a wide variety of sexuality.
Yeah, well,
so because of that, most people like a little bit of the other, even if they're predominantly one way.
I tend to think it's on a bell curve that, you have a small percentage on either end and you have a big hump in the middle where most of the people will fall.
Yeah.
It's a camel graph.
Yeah. There would be hard lesbians who could look at a nice guy and say, yeah, he's hot, but there's no way I'm hopping in bed with him.
I do that all the time. Like, I'll look at some guy and I'll be like, damn, he's good looking. And my brother will go, I don't know, is he? I mean, yeah, I guess he looks all right, And I'm like, well, let's clarify, I don't want to have sex with him. I'm just saying that's a good looking human being,
Yeah.
I can do that. It doesn't matter. I can do that with anybody.
Like,
I think lots of people have too many hang-ups about those sort of things, and we shouldn't.
I agree.
It's the aesthetics. Like, I mean, think of it like this. Like, you look at like Greek and Roman statues, and we appreciate them, I think, in a similar way, where it's like, even if you are more on the end of that spectrum one way or the other, and you're more locked in your sexuality, I think no matter what, you can appreciate people that are from the opposite or opposing gender to your preference.
Your preference,
just because it is that aesthetic thing, and it is just appreciating a thing of beauty. I mean, the human body is a work of art. I mean, like some of them are a little bit more abstract.
That's so nice of you to say.
But
I personally consider myself a Jackson Pollock, but that's neither here nor there when it comes to my body.
But the human body is a work of art, and like my body is my canvas. I have tattoos, I have piercings, I change my hair color, regularly. Like pretty soon I'm going to touch up my roots and then go purple, because why the fuck not? But
I unfortunately had to go for a complete restoration. So
I had purplish maroon. I had a purplish maroon afro about 3 years ago.
I've had every color. I've literally had every color.
Do you guys remember when they came out with that? that burgundy Coke. They called it Coca-Cola. Does anyone remember when they came out with that hair color? And all the women were getting it, but it was like a dark burgundy-ish. And when the sun hit it, you could see a little bit of the burgundy, but otherwise it looked like dark brown hair.
Yeah, I did that to my hair too.
Yeah, but it was really cool because they walk outside and
Black
like,
Widow red. I've had fire engine red. Like I've done blue. Like I don't know if anyone's seen Scott Pilgrim, but like once I had my hair short and I cosplayed as Ramona Flowers, then I had black underneath and then blue on top.
Yep.
I did Leela from Futurama, so long purple hair. I did a hybrid of Rogue and Psylocke from the X-Men, where it's basically I had stark white bangs, just like Rogue, but then the rest of my hair was purple. Like I've done some crazy shit with my hair, but it's fun. Like, and you can change the color more frequently than you can the length. Like after my son cut off 19 inches of hair, this is what I was left with. No, he came up behind me with the scissors while I was in the middle of doing something.
I remember you talking about that.
Like, just freaking, like, so much hair gone.
You know what I do when that happens to me? I say thank you. I didn't want that hair anyway.
Well, you would never have your hair that long.
I finally got to the point where I'm just like, it's just hair. It'll grow back. You know, like, because, like, I had to do, like, a huge chop, like, about 3 years ago. I had to cut it all off because it was so damaged from braids. Because like the people who used to braid my hair would get so close to my scalp that it was pulling at the roots, and it started to like thin very badly, and then like it got really sparse on the side. So I just said, "Fuck it, just cut the whole goddamn thing off." And so I was rocking that short haircut, but you know what? I loved that cut. At first, like I thought I was like, am I gonna get misgendered? But then after a while, I was like, who cares?
Right?
No matter who cares? I mean, like, I think that after like when I got to my 40s and beyond, I just really just stopped giving a fuck about all that shit. Like, oh, what if somebody thinks that you're this or that? I was like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I am who I am.
Yeah.
Well, the first step is go ahead.
I was looking for a way to draw Junkshop into the conversation, and Ricardo has finally given it to me. So, Junkshop, what color are you planning for your hair next?
Well, let me just put it to you that none of you will ever know.
It's like my new guest lineup. It's a surprise. You're not going to know.
The Emperor's new hair.
I think I need to show up in a wig next stream, Junkshop, just to.
Does anybody else have Shiny from like Tamatoa from Moana playing? Like when
I do now.
They put their head down. Like I just saw that shine on the scalp.
No.
So like I'm just like now I've got Tamatoa playing in my head. It was a Bowie impersonation, and I am a Bowie fangirl, and I will not apologize for that.
Nothing wrong with
Never
that.
apologize.
Should apologize for anything, unless you're a jerk. Yeah, you're a jerk. Apologize, but otherwise,
There was a thing going on Twitter about the best hair in the atheist community. I think that they should be running one for the smoothest skull.
Ooh.
Have to do it in the morning before everybody gets the 5 o'clock shadow.
Jyuni, is your hair really the color of your avatar?
Yes, but it's fading.
Okay.
And that's the thing. It's like I'm always afraid that that if it's going to be true that my hair is going to fall out with all the dyeing.
Well, as long as
HRT
you're
is a big help.
As long as you're careful about it, and try to use color strippers rather than bleach to remove the color where you've already bleached. Like, you really only ever want to bleach your virgin hair once. So it's like all of this like new growth here from my roots, I'll bleach that, but I won't actually be bleaching the stuff here that's already the pale blonde. And then when I put colors in it, when I want to change the color, I'll use a color stripper, which is less damaging than going in with a bleach. Like sometimes you have to, depending on the color you use, but then you want to use a lower volume developer. You don't want to go for box bleach. Never do that. Go to Sally's, get at like maybe 20 or 30 volume developer and use that, because you're better off starting with 20 and seeing if that'll lift, and that'll be the least damaging, or do a 25 where you mix like half 30, half 20 to get a 25, and then at most a 30, but you never want to go higher than that when bleaching your hair. I mean, like, I bleach the shit out of my hair, but you can see like it's bouncy and shiny, and like I do. I mean, granted, I'm also lucky. I have hair that is very resilient, but
now I've got shiny stuck in my head again.
So you don't pour a bottle of Clorox over your head?
Yeah, no, don't do that.
So if we're giving hair advice, I feel like Cynthia should get in on this, because none of us have that kind of hair, and it's a whole different ball of wax, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I've done everything that a Black person could actually do to hair. I've colored, of course. I've worn weaves. Back in the 80s, if any of you ever heard of a Jerry curl?
Oh yeah. Oh
okay,
no, you
yes.
had to have the Jerry. My best friend had Jerry curl back then.
Yes. I rocked a Jerry. You know, thank you, Michael. It's all your fault. You know,
yep.
Billie Jean is not my lover. And I just a girl who said that. Okay. Anyway, what else have I done to my hair? I've done, of course, like I've done the braids and all the different inceptions of braids. And of course, like now, this is kind of the same hairstyle that I rocked when I was 2. Which is, I have photos on my Instagram of me at 2, like, you know, and it was this gigantic afro with 2 barrettes in my hair and a little cute pinkish dress. And I'm just walking around like, you know, living my best life. And the reason why I rocked that style so long is because my hair was so thick, my mother couldn't tame it. It was just so, it was, whoa, what's up with all this, right? And matter of fact, like, she told me when she was pregnant with me that she had the worst heartburn ever in life because I had like a huge ball of hair when I came out. Like, I was not a ball baby whatsoever. Yeah, like I had a whole lot of hair. And so, and I felt like so bad, like, you know, especially like when I had like relaxers in my hair, that really did a number on my hair. And I would never, ever, 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 ever put a relaxer in my head again. And, you know, any Black ladies that's watching, Sunday evening, right before Easter, you already know, kitchen trauma. I so wish Maya was here, because Maya would know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me hip you all to something that would happen to black little girls the eve of Easter or eve of any holy holiday. You got sat in the middle of your kitchen where your mother would take a hot comb, okay, put it on the stove with some blue magic grease that was really blue, but sometimes it was green, depending on what she found that day. And then next thing you know, you and Catfish got a lot in common. Y'all frying. You're frying. See? Sandy knows. And all of us have rocked the burnt ear and the burnt back of the neck. Okay. Hey, Esther, how you doing? Yes, Esther, you know.
Esther knows.
Esther
She's got
knows.
some hair.
Okay.
She's got some hair.
All little Black girls went through this. Every last one of us had the little burnt portion on the top of your head, all that. We went, and so we still talk. If y'all, we can relate. If we need to draw like a sister circle, if we need to go ahead and get over that trauma, like I still get triggered turning on the stove. And I cook, but I get triggered. Like, oh shit. Okay, hold on.
Was that the thinking that you couldn't have that you had to have straight hair for church? Was it?
Yeah, because like you had to have it straightened and so that you can do the curly.
Because the curly hair was for the devil for some reason.
Well, I mean, they curled your hair, but you had to straighten it first in order for the curl to stay. Okay, so you know,
the natural curls weren't okay.
No, No, natural curls were not okay. Not for church. Jesus does not like natural
curls. Jesus does not like things natural.
No, Jesus don't like that. I'll get the scripture for you soon.
You exchange the natural function of the hair for that which is unnatural.
See?
I didn't like it so much. Why did he go?
It was white Jesus.
And yet the church is always arguing for apparently this natural stuff that's more important than what they consider unnatural.
Yeah,
it was basically because it's whitewashing and trying to basically Westernize and Anglicanize.
Yes,
and
I grew up Anglican, so there you go. And then that has even made it doubly traumatized with the straightening of the hair. And yes, Esther, it does damage it. It damages your hair from all that stuff, the extensions, the braids, the whole you dig. So at this particular point, the hair is just doing its thing. I have a array of different natural products that I use on my hair right now. And right now, my hair is living its best life. I do absolutely. The only thing I do is I wash it, I condition it, and then I add my oil products. Esther, tell me, are you familiar with chebe powder? I wonder if you're familiar with chebe powder.
How can you handle the braids? Like I can't even handle a tight ponytail, and like I had like braids once. And it was like maybe an inch here, just a crown around my forehead. I left it in for like one day, and I was I couldn't deal with it.
Gives you headaches.
Headaches. It was awful.
So what you would do, and I'm pretty sure that all my sisters in the chat know what I'm about to describe, is that you already knew that day was gone. You don't plan a goddamn thing when you're about to get your hair braided because you're there for the entire day. Okay. Next, you also make sure you take some different painkillers before you get your hair braided. So oftentimes I'm like noxiprofen, ibuprofen, the whole you dig before I'm going to the lady to braid my hair because I know I'm going to have a headache before it's all said and done. That just lessens the headache, And then of course I had to give instruction, please don't braid my hair too tight. Only because I was because that's when I started to see the damage that was happening, especially around my edges. Yes. Esther, no, braids take all fucking day.
The closest
day. Don't do the damn thing.
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
No, at this particular junction, neither do I, Jen. I ain't got time for that. I mean, I was thinking about I'm going on vacation. Finally. Sorry. Next month.
Last question in it.
And I was thinking about actually getting my hair braided. I was like, fuck that shit. No, I'm gonna be on vacation with this fro and it's called the goddamn day.
As a fellow Protestant, because I grew up as a Methodist, did you have the whole thing where you're supposed to be wearing hats to church?
When I only on the high holidays.
Only for the high holidays.
For the high holidays, especially Easter, it was a thing for hats and gloves. That was a thing.
Gloves weren't when I was a kid, but hats were. And I think it's contributed to the fact that I hate hats now. I absolutely loathe the bloody things. I can't stand it.
I never got to wear them as a kid until I was a teenager. I love hats now. I hate them.
Oh, we had to wear the straw hats with the elastic chin band, and those elastic chin bands were always so uncomfortable. I hated them. But I remember going to church once, and the little girl behind me saying, "Why do I have to wear my hat? That little girl doesn't have a hat." And she pointed at me. And her mom said, "She has a bow in her hair, and that's okay if you have a bow in your hair." And I didn't realize that a bow it was a substitute for a hat. That's nice.
Yeah, that's in Rev Ephesians.
God can't tell you.
That's in Rev Ephesians. Rev Ephesians. That's in Rev Ephesians. Thou shalt wear a bow instead of a strap on your hat. Well, the Lord said it was good.
I'm a former Catholic, so the only time we did the gloves and everything was literally First Communion. I don't really recall I mean, sure, we would wear our Easter finest, you know, going to church on Easter, and so you wear your little dress, and for the girls anyway. But other than that, like, we only wore, as far as I remember, gloves for that, and it was just for First Communion that first time.
Damn,
I guess because
you
you
guys
can't
could
touch
afford
the
gloves?
Eucharist with your bare hands. I guess.
Sometimes you can get gloves and a hat
I mean,
together.
Aren't you wacky Catholics too busy worshiping all the saints and stuff to have time to put on your hats and gloves?
No, you do it. You worship while you're getting dressed. That's what you do.
No, it's Mary. It's Mary that's the big worship-y.
Right.
Okay, so like, can we just take a moment, like, to appreciate the fact that, like, the Catholic Church, you know, it is, you know, born of all the fucking privilege. Like, it's the whitest of white people churches. And you listen to their fucking songs that they sing, it's so fucking dreary and depressing. But you go to a black church that was born from slavery and fucking just terror and pain, and they have the most joyous and fucking rowdy. So, like, how the fuck does that happen?
Well, you know, I remember watching this documentary called I can't remember. Anyway, I was watching this documentary.
That's an interesting name for
I was going to say that's
right?
a weird name.
Right? Look it up. I'm telling you. But it was specifically it was released by HBO back in 2003, I want to say, and it was based on slave narratives where people in the 30s actually gathered, different. They basically interviewed ex-slaves at that time for the Smithsonian and Library of Congress, and so the actors, they had like picked these different actors to actually read back and their narratives about, you know, the different things and atrocities that they went through. And one of the things that was used a lot was, you know, the form of Christianity that kind of intermingled with old ancestral worship practices from West Africa specifically, and like came up with like spirituals where they, and especially like Sundays for a lot of slaves were the only days that they were able to actually get off so that they can worship. So these particular songs actually were developed as coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. And so that's why oftentimes, like, even if you go to, you know, a predominantly Black church, even though like my church was predominantly Black, but it was still Anglican. So none of that. It wasn't, but later on, I did go to a non-denominational church where all of that was going on, right? But, you know, but still, that's what it was. It was just a coping mechanism so that because their lives basically was shit because of slavery, and then we got Jim Crow, et cetera, and that was, you know, just to help them just like, you know, deal basically. And I'm sorry, my great niece is here and she is quite loud and she's 2. So I don't know if you can hear in the background.
I find it it's fascinating, the level of not fascinating, it's dreadful, the level of oppression that there was there, that like the slavers saw the Black people that they enslaved as less than human, and yet they were all out to try to help them save their souls. So I don't get the two sides of that. If you don't think someone's human, why are you trying to save their soul? Well, it's in the back of the head. You know what you're doing is fucking wrong, but you don't care enough.
The Europeans used that to rationalize a lot of the imperialism.
Yeah,
we're going and we're raising these savages up to civilization by teaching them to be Christians.
Whitewashing.
Correct. Yep. I mean, correct. That's what it was. You know, they oftentimes when Europeans encountered people, you know, on the African continent, and even indigenous people in the Americas, they looked at them as like, you know, savages. They were not civilized. They, you know, we have to, you know, get them back into the Western sensibility of things, which included religion. So we have to strip them of what they've practiced, because that way of practice is not a God. It's not it's not of being civilized or intelligence or any of those things. So we got to get rid of that shit. And Esther, yes, I did have to wear my Sunday best to church too. For a long time, it was just skirts and dresses. I didn't wear pants until I was like a teenager, and that was a big thing, you know, to wear pants as a girl to church. So, and I did that. But I'm at my mark. I gotta run to a different you dig, Granny. Congratulations, you deserve it. You deserve
Thank you.
it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Glad
I'll see you in
Bye-bye.
the DMs. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye, Cynthia.
Yeah, now for 50 years now, it's been socially acceptable for girls to wear jeans. So why can't we now make it socially acceptable for boys to wear skirts?
It's starting.
Harry
to change.
Styles is trying and breaking the internet because of it.
Yeah.
Cis het white men.
Yeah,
Cis het white men.
and the
And
religious
Turks.
basically.
Yeah,
And
unless
Turks.
it's a kilt, then it's an exception.
Yeah, where I was living in Michigan, one of the Walmart greeters would always wear a kilt.
Oh, now Maya's here. Hello, Maya.
Oh,
and
hi,
thank
Maya.
you very much for the
Yeah.
super chat, Maya.
Oh, you know, I was going to say to Cynthia, I didn't get a chance to, but the only thing I can relate to on the braids is when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. My mom didn't let any of the girls cut their hair. And then when we became 18, we could choose what to do. But she was like, no, I'm in charge of you. You're not cutting your hair. So we would, every night, we would actually line up youngest to oldest, mom in the back, and everybody would brush each other's hair. And then we were all done. I'd brush mom's hair, and then she'd go rebrush it because I did a horrible job. But the point is that I had hair down past my butt. And when I sat down, I'd have to pick it up. Because if I didn't, I'd sit down, I'd go to take a bite of food, and I'd go, oh, and just stop. Half.
I actually my
but,
first haircut, my hair was that long.
But the point is that I had a braid all the time, or a big ponytail. And my entire childhood, from the time I was like 8 to 10 until I was 16, and I was in the middle of a basketball game, and my hand got stuck in my hair, and I lost the ball, and the other team made a point, and I looked at my mom in the stands, and I yelled, "I'm cutting my hair," and she said, "Okay." But until that point, I had headaches all the time. I had headaches almost every day. And, you know, I didn't know what it was, and I didn't say anything because I knew my mom couldn't afford to take me to the doctor to find out what it was. And they cut my hair off when I came out, and I had my hair chopped off for the second time, and I felt that weight gone, and my headache stopped again. I was like, I'm done. I'm not. Well, and that, and I was living a lie. But
longer than this because if it's any longer, my migraines get worse. So
yes,
That's the thing
gives
about
you
having short
headaches.
hair is that it feels relieving sometimes, like all that weight off the head.
it's nice.
Yeah, every
having
time
long
I get
hair,
mine
though, as
cut
well.
and they buzz the sides and back, because it's long now, I need another haircut. But when they buzz the sides and back, I feel so free every time they do it. Like, I can feel the air on my scalp.
I am still mad at my ex. 15 years ago, she made me, convinced me to cut my hair short, and it hasn't grown back even half as long. I used to have a ponytail down to my belt. Now I can't get anywhere past my shoulder blades.
Purple,
Robin has the same issue.
Trim like an inch or so off every so often. Because what it is your hair follicles get used to a certain weight, and then the hair stops coming out. And if you relieve some of that weight, even if you just pull all your hair straight up and just trim an inch off the top, and it feels that relief of weight, it will grow more. That's why mine grows. That's why people with short hair, we have to get our hair cut so often, because we're always relieving the weight by cutting it, and then it grows really fast.
Yeah, your hair figures out an optimum length for you, and you have to convince it.
You can also get it. You can also cut like an inch off, and then I knew somebody used to get it thinned out, so they weren't cutting more length off, but it would still relieve the weight of the hair.
Mine can't get any thinner than it is. It won't be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well, you can try the inch thing,
instead,
like every 2 months or something like that. Cut like an inch off the end, and that should help it.
Dog, I believe that you're a ball gown type of guy, because look at your avatar. There you are in your ball gown.
Yep.
in the bishop's clothes with the hat.
So
let's talk about Pride Month a little bit.
Oh,
Is
yeah, it's
anyone
cute.
doing? Yeah, I know. I gotta move my microphones. I got a new ally shirt.
Oh,
If there was a
that's
pride
awesome.
parade in my town, it'd probably just be me.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I was a few, not long after I shifted, I was in the local. I was in the local council offices registering the dog, and whilst I was there, it was really lovely. Whilst I was there, the one of the women behind the counter was training the other, and she was teaching the other woman how to deal with if a trans person came in and how to deal with changing pronouns on forms and stuff. And I thought that was awesome, just to walk in and hear that it's that proactive that they're actually teaching people. And I can't imagine there's a lot of trans people in this town. To be perfectly honest, I doubt they've hardly ever had to deal with it. The chances of that new person having to deal with it are fairly slim. But it's like that is awesome that they're actually being proactive enough, even in a small town, to want to train people to deal with it and not be assholes. So I think that's a good thing. So there's a positive thing.
Yeah, that's like where I worked. Everybody is very conscious
Zipper.
of each
rainbow
other.
zipper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
in
cool.
Black and in pink. So
awesome.
I've got and it's adjustable, so like I can cut the length that I need. But yeah, I've got rainbow zipper.
Yes, it's only just noticeable that it's got rainbows on it in the camera. Yeah,
I made the scarf that Junkshop is wearing.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why I said that's great. I remember you made
Junkshop,
it,
the
yeah.
next Doctor Who.
I was actually talking to Granny on a stream when she was working on that scarf.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into the screen and she was like, "Don't tell anybody, I'll show you." And she showed me the end of it. Look, I got this much done, you know? So I remember that.
Oh, that's
It's awesome.
magnificent. I love it.
That's great.
It looks great.
And
So what I was gonna say was my the doctors where I work, they do hormone therapy and stuff too. They're very progressive, and so yeah. So I might not even have to. I could maybe just be able to do everything in house where I work and not have to go anywhere to deal with any people I don't know.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
got lucky.
actually quite looked into things here that if I had come here a few years earlier, I would have been having to drive to Minneapolis, which is 75 miles away. That it was only 4 years ago that they specifically opened a gender clinic here.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's cool.
Junie,
I was
what's
gonna.
the
We
car
were talking
picture
about.
for?
I'm sorry. What?
Junie put a
that's what
car
I'm doing
picture
for
here.
Pride Month.
Ah, okay.
So I'm doing the rainbow underglow,
It's not showing for some reason.
but I'm still waiting to get the post for the big flags.
No, I mean I'm putting it on the stream, and for some reason it's not showing.
It might be a huge pile.
Oh yeah, it's probably.
Yeah, I just when you tried to
it
do
might
that,
be a
I
huge
just saw the
pile.
buffering circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were real quick before I forget. We were talking about being in areas where you can go to get if you're trans and to get medical care. So my son is in Columbus, Ohio, and if anybody's around Columbus, go to Equitas Healthcare, and it's EQUITAS. And they are very progressive. They're kind of like a clinic setting, so you don't get to pick a doctor, but they're all very progressive. And this doctor has been amazing for my son and very encouraging, and is letting them start the surgery process sooner because he's been doing it for so long, and he's so far along with everything. Therapist is happy and everything. So anybody around there, check that out. He told me that's where he goes, and I just wanted to spread that.
That's amazing for Ohio, though. Like, because
Yes.
knowing Ohio.
Well, Columbus is very progressive, and so is Cincinnati, and one of the cities up top. I can't remember which one it is. They're very progressive cities, but once you walk outside that city, it's done. It's done, and he won't live outside the city because of that. He doesn't have to worry about it there.
That's why Ohio had always been a swing state before, because it really was very close. It could have gone either way in most elections.
Yep. Yep, it's true. So, but anyways, that's all I have.
I've got my bi pride, blue, purple, pink going on in my makeup.
Cool. I don't even know if they're doing a pride around here this year. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I mean, nobody's going around talking to each other or hanging out right now here because we're still very much trying to keep everything. They're trying to keep it as shut down as they can. So like all of our restaurants and stuff are still at like 50% capacity or 35, whatever, depending on the size of the restaurant. So I don't know if they're going to do it or not. Down south of me in the biggest city where they usually do those things, they're starting to open things up. So possible.
Yeah, I don't expect there's going to be anything here because, while Minnesota is generally a blue state, this city is a red pocket.
Mm. I don't know if they're going to do anything locally here either. I looked it up and I saw a little bit of information and I don't even remember what I saw. I didn't see anything that really looked like something I would want to go to. I don't think there were any parades. I think I saw some. I know what it was. I saw a couple comedians were putting on some kind of a show, but they were comedians that I'd never heard of before. So I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, there's always a big parade here every year.
Lockdown again.
It'll be interesting to see what the environment is like in the immediate post-pandemic world.
It won't just be that. It's the post. Well, not the post, but the current GOP climate of trying to roll back LGBT rights as well.
Right.
There's also that. There is that indeed.
It's always a fun
the
topic.
biggest thing you've got at the moment is the GOP has started saying the quiet bit loudly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're not actually. Trump has emboldened them. Even though he's not president anymore, has emboldened them to the point that they're now just going to do whatever they damn well please.
That's one thing that I have been so surprised at. I fully expected that when Biden was elected, especially since we've got a Democratic House, we've got a Democratic Senate, we've got a Democratic president. I was really expecting to see a calming of all the anti-LGBTQ stuff. And not only is that not true, we're seeing exactly the opposite.
It's about rallying. Oh, wow, I can't even speak. Rallying their base, because if they stir up the base, they're hopeful that they'll win the midterms.
Yeah, well, it's the main
pull
culture
Biden's
war
power.
thing they have to lean into. Because Biden is doing an okay job. It's not like Obama bad man, scary black man. That's what they leaned on before. But Biden is a milquetoast, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, Catholic, but still.
They did it to themselves. Trump lowered the bar so far that vaguely competent is impressing everyone.
Yeah.
That's what I wish would happen. I wish everybody would say Trump who. So
Biden's not done anything really that they can rally behind as holding up it's so bad, They can't say that he's a Kenyan-born Muslim or any other BS that they did with
they
Obama.
gotta find something else. Yeah.
Mo Brooks is my congressional representative, and so I watch his Twitter for what he posts. And about 3 weeks ago, when the pipeline was down, Brooks posted something about how on Biden's watch, Chick-fil-A is experiencing a shortage of Chick-fil-A sauce.
Oh my God, that's it. Impeach that man. If we don't have our Chick-fil-A sauce, the people that hate gay people, we should all go there and
always got his priorities in order.
I know. My response was, on Trump's watch, 500,000 people died. If the worst thing you've got to complain about is a shortage of Chick-fil-A sauce, life is good.
If you look it up online, you could probably find the recipe, folks. Just a PSA. You could probably find the recipe if you're desperate and make it yourself. I know that's crazy.
I have a recipe.
We haven't made sauces ourselves in 30 years.
For homemade Chick-fil-A sandwiches. I will share with anybody, so you don't have to give that bigoted corporation a dime.
Marinate it in pickle brine. They marinate their chicken in pickle brine. That's the key. I don't know
I've
what the
not been
brain
to
is.
Chick-fil-A,
Lost
and I
Girl
won't
found
ever
one.
go.
In all honesty, I'm agreeing with Maya. The Democrats are doing what most first termers do, and they be very quiet at the beginning and aim for at the end. Once there's a possibility that the election's coming up, they can do more stuff or wait for a second term to do it because they can't afford to do that. If they wait, they're going to lose the ability to do something. And it needs to be done. Something needs to be done to stop the states putting in laws to screw
Biden
with
has to do
the
something
elections
dramatic to help
and
the working class, or they will lose the Senate in 2 years.
that,
You know, the
they're going to
problem
lose
here
the
is
Senate.
that there's Republicans that don't want any of this to happen involved in all these decisions. That's the problem. And there's Democrats over here, and there's, like I said, I hate that. I just hate it. It just
there's a level of
that shit.
complacency to the Democrats. There's like it's fine. We're in power. We can wait and we can do things later, and it won't matter because it's here. We're here. We're protecting you. It's fine. And you can't be that because that's not how the Republicans are being. The Republicans are taking the fight to the states that they have control in, and they are going to fuck it up to the point where Biden might end up being a one-term president despite the level of his win.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the issue. Like, I mean, the Republicans still control the majority of the states. And if we lose the Senate, then kiss voting rights goodbye.
Yeah.
They learned a lesson from 2020 in that they need to disenfranchise as many people as possible so that they can hang on to that last, grasp of power, because the country is moving past them. The majority of people don't support their bigoted policy.
And
look at Texas. Look what Texas
I hate
is doing.
to say it. Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
And I mean, I hate to say it. LGBT things need to take a back step to ensuring that voter suppression doesn't get through.
Yeah, right, because the voter suppression, like the trans bills are awful. The anti-trans bills, the anti-LGBT bills, they are terrible. The anti-women bills, like the anti-abortion bills.
Yeah, because they're doing all of that.
They're
doing
rid of that
what
if
we
people
want.
can't vote.
But that can be fixed a lot
That's
faster
insane, really.
than disenfranchisement of voters. Because
Yeah.
once they get that foothold in, they're not going to let go. So, I mean, just like I think a number one issue is getting money out of politics. Like, I think that should be a number one issue for most people. Like, even before social issues, like getting money out of politics would help deal with some of the corruption issues and where politicians serve the corporations, not the people they're supposed to represent. But the number one issue is voting rights, because without those, you're not going to have any of the others.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
100.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
On the plus side.
Biden can tick off all the bills he likes. Look how quickly he got rid of Trump's crap when he came in. That's irrelevant. Stuff has to go through both houses to have some form of protection there for the future. And if you don't protect against voter suppression now, anything else that you try to make changes of is gone in the next 4 years.
And the Supreme Court, is going to have a hard conservative bias for a generation. Honestly.
I think the Supreme Court is a toss-up at this point. Yes, there are some very hard right-leaning people on the court, but one of the beauties of our justice system is that they are appointed for life. So once they are on the court, they are not beholden to anyone for a political opinion. They can go with whatever they think is best. So it's possible that the court will not overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, we have also seen the court actually back LGBT stuff as well, despite with that hard leaning to the right. Exactly. And it comes down to that. As Granny said, they are voting with their conscience and they're looking at it and they're going, we really have to uphold the law at this point. There might be one or two of them who will vote entirely down the party line, but ultimately, if it comes down to law, but if you have states enact laws that enable voter suppression and the federal government doesn't do anything about it, you forget the court's not going to protect you against voter suppression if your federal government won't do something about it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be done, and it needs to be Biden's priority. It needs to be the current administration's priority, or else you guys are fucked. You really are absolutely fucked. It'll be a very,
Republicans will
very
play
long
dirty.
time. You would need somebody worse than Trump to be elected as president for there to be enough public to get up in arms and make sure they voted to get him out so that you could enact changes. So
Well,
you could end up with worse
Yeah.
than Trump. And that's a reality that you're looking at. And you can go, oh, we got Biden in, now we're fine. You're not. You're
No.
not fine because
No.
because the Republicans are organized and they have got a plan, and the Democrats are sitting on their fucking hands.
And let me also say, there is one thing that gives me hope. You were talking about the Supreme Court, and once they get in, then they can do whatever they want. Look at the guy that Trump brought in. None of us wanted him in. And the first thing they voted on, he went more moderate and pissed off the entire Republican Party. But now they can't do anything about it. I'm not saying it was left-leaning or good, but it was better than what we thought we were going to get from him. So, there's always hope once they get in that they will use their conscience and do the right thing and uphold what they're supposed to uphold.
Gorsuch to me seems like he has a
That's
hard bias for corporations. Like there was one law or one case that went through the courts that he was serving in, and he was the only dissenting voice in a case where it was a truck driver and his truck had broken down, and like we're sub-zero temperatures and the heater wasn't working in the truck. He literally called repeatedly to get service out there, and like he started to show signs of hypothermia. He's slurring his words on the phone. So he unhitched the load thinking I might be able to get it to a gas station and warm up. He goes to the gas station, gets warmed up, probably saved his life, and he got fired. He, said, no, this is a wrongful termination. You shouldn't expect me to die for this job, And Gorsuch was like, no, the company was fine to fire him for that. And he was the only dissenting opinion. So he is very hard for pro-corporate, but he did seem much more moderate when it came to the LGBT law that was being addressed, or the case that was being addressed.
In which case, social reforms will be fine. But you cannot rely on your high court for protecting voter rights.
No.
I don't think that's something that you can rely on.
Let me weigh in on this as a former truck driver. Every company, when you start working for them, make you sign a contract that you will not abandon your equipment or your load. By him leaving that on the side of the road, even though it was risking his life by staying there, he was still abandoning his load. Now, is it morally sound? Was it morally sound? No. I've been stuck in the freezing cold, wrapped in a blanket, in a sleeping bag with all my winter clothes on, sitting in my truck waiting for help in like -20 weather. I know what that's like, and I had to sit there for 2 hours. I can't imagine sitting there for 6. But honestly, that is what's written in their policies. And once you sign that and agree to that, it's a contract. And
I've got a question.
There's no getting out of it. Yes.
If they have to take their load with them, does that mean they have to take all their tissues as well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, how are you going to get rid of it later? My God, Jeff.
One thing I saw with the Supreme Court, though, is that they did kind of distance themselves from Trump, because with all the stuff about the vote recounts and everything, what they seemed to be doing really hard was trying to avoid hearing any of those cases.
He thought that they were going to overturn the election for him because he put them in power, and they didn't, which props to them. I may not like Amy Coney Barrett. I may not like Brett Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, but of the 3 that Trump got, Gorsuch, I think, is the least bad. He's still a dick, but I think he's the most moderate of the 3. And he's also not a rapist.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, that's always helpful.
Well, and
who's likely to be the next one down? Who's in the Supreme Court at the moment? That sounds horrible, doesn't it? Who's going to pop off next?
Maybe Robert?
Or retire.
Or retire, yeah. So is that a left or right leaning?
Roberts is right leaning, but he was like the more moderate right winger.
So there is a chance that they could bring it back a little bit within
a little
Biden's
bit.
term.
They'll try to bribe him to stay for the next 4 years. Let me tell you.
There's also
Yeah,
the wild card scenario for you. If a new strain of COVID pops up and half the Supreme Court justices all die at the same time.
Oh my God, Purple. But it could happen.
Trump has started a thing though, because there will no longer ever be a president who's going to leave appointment of high courts till the next administration when they're in caretaker. No, it'll never happen again. It's gone.
The Republicans did, they screwed Merrick Garland out of his seat, and then fucking Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was my personal hero on the Supreme Court, like, her body wasn't even cold yet. Fucking rigor mortis hadn't even set in before Mitch McConnell, like a vulture, is swooping in with his list to get that appointment filled. He made Merrick Garland wait over a year. It was over a year out from the election. Merrick Garland, we're not even going to hold the hearing.
It was 9 months out.
Turtle swoop.
Yeah, it was 9 months out, and the Republicans would not hold hearings for her. And
so almost a year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then after Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, less than 48 hours than her death was announced, they were pushing to get somebody new in there right away.
Yep.
And the absolute cream of the crop they brought to that table too, didn't they?
Well, they probably did bring the cream of their crop, to be honest. I mean,
the Republicans have no shame.
You're probably right.
Because back during Merrick Garland, during Obama's tenure, you have people like Lindsey Graham saying, in a lame duck presidency, we're not, you can hold these words. I'm going to stick to my words and you can hold them against me in the future, And then as soon as they had the opportunity to fucking be a hypocrite, it's like, well, see, what had happened was the sun was in my eyes and it was Thursday and Mercury was in retrograde and,
Pretty much, yeah.
Honestly, I think there should be
dying over here.
I honestly think there should be a change in the way the selection criteria is for your high court. If it should come down to a non-partisan panel to put up people for selection, and from that the president can select from the handful of candidates that are presented to the president to be the one that they put forward as their preferred.
Yeah, rather than letting the Heritage Foundation pick.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Make our system make sense? Shh.
Well, I mean, ours has the same problem. They're government appointees, but it's not as political in our high court, so we don't have the same issue in that sense. But I still think it should be the same here. It should be a non-partisan panel who put up a selection of candidates, and then from those, the president or the prime minister or whoever picks who they think is they would like to have. I mean, you'll still get a bit of partisanship in that, but it won't be anywhere near what it is.
It'll soften the edges. Like, another thing that needs to be done by a nonpartisan commission is the drawing of districts, so that we don't have gerrymandering where you have like a freaking horseshoe shaped district, so that you can like lump all of the people that you don't want in your voting
that
pool
was
over
a
there.
good idea.
It used to be common. It's a
Let's
Westminster thing. It's a Westminster thing, which of course that part of the Euro-American system, even though you're a Republican, not a, and yeah, we're not, but it comes from those concepts of the Westminster system, which gives you your lower and upper house.
So instead of blame Canada, blame Britain.
Blame Britain? No. They used to be what they call in Britain rotten boroughs, where you'd have an area where you'd have your landholder and a handful of voters, and they were completely under the control of the person who was the landholder. And basically, you'd have like 10 people elect one representative, and then you'd have this other area where all the commoners lived, and they'd have one representative for 10,000 people. And this was a common thing. There was one borough in the UK that had the landowner was the only voter, and it was because a town had shifted. It had to shift because where it was impractical, so they'd moved the town, but they left the boundaries where they were, and the person who owned the land was the only voter. So they decided entirely who it was. So the party bought the land.
Another
They
thing,
bought the land, so they controlled the thing. So what you have in the UK and Australia now is the Parliament does not decide borders. It's decided by a government department, but it's independent of the government in that sense. So, and there's rules and regulations about you're supposed to have a certain amount of population distribution between things. There is a weighting for rural to city areas, just so that you still get representatives in rural areas, which does mean you don't get one vote, one value, but it's still closer than what you guys have.
yeah, we also need to get rid of the Electoral College because, that was a racist BS compromise with slave states because Black people didn't count as a full person.
Mhm.
So, like, can we get rid of that antiquated bullshit, please? Please.
Yeah,
And the other problem, the main problem I have with that is really the people aren't deciding shit. That's why I don't like the Electoral College. It's all about what that guy wants to do, and whoever's pocket he's in, he's going to vote that way. They don't give a shit what we say. It's a luck of the draw whether we have good, it's whether we have good representatives or not.
Given that you have two levels of checks and balances against your president, I honestly don't see why the president isn't just popularly elected. That should be what it is.
The Republicans won't let that because they know they'd lose.
Yep.
Yeah, probably they would,
we're-
but that means they just
Yeah.
have to campaign and actually have decent policies instead of being asses.
We're not going
I mean,
to get rid of the Electoral College. I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
You would need a major constitutional referendum to do that, and that's not going to happen.
Nope.
But
It is too hard.
we could modify it state by state, that each state could individually decide that instead of it being the winner take all, that the electorals are proportional based on the popular vote.
Mhm.
Yes.
So like, Minnesota has, I think it's like 26 electoral votes, that they could do it proportionally so that, one candidate would wind up getting 15 votes and one candidate would wind up getting 11 votes.
Or they could just, do
And that
winner
would
take all of the
There's
popular vote, like basing it like,
That's what needs to happen.
yeah, like I don't like the idea of, I don't mind the, splitting it up like that, but really if you just make it so that it goes by the popular vote rather than by each individual district, how it is, where it's like you've got, if the districts are drawn a certain way, then even though there are more Democrats in a state than there are Republicans, like the Republicans are still going to win that state. Like that shouldn't happen.
The whole reason why you had the weighted voting in the first place was so that cities couldn't just outvote and you'd have nothing happen in rural regions. And I do understand that way of thinking. However, I think we're also in a point now in society where most city people realize that you have to do something for your country, for the country people, because it is harder because you have less services in the country.
Yeah.
So I think it does come down to the fact that people are a little bit better educated about stuff like that now in general. So it's not the issue it once was, where you'd have people who lived in the city who didn't know a fucking thing about what happened in the country and didn't care about it and would just roll over the top of them, basically. So it is a bit different now. People travel more now so they can see that things are different.
You still have a lot of that problem that rural areas just don't have the funding they need for basic services.
In that case, you don't split your funding based on you change the way that your funding works, so your funding is biased towards rural regions without having to bias your voting towards regions. I mean, we have a thing in Western Australia called royalties for regions, and that's where the royalties that the state government gets out of mining and stuff like that, the primary production. The vast majority of that actually goes to regional areas and not to the main city. That enables lots of programs that help rural areas. For example, it pays for new things built for either for sport or new buildings. Albany's new entertainment centre was built with royalties for region money, so it's cultural and things like that. It also pays for a plan for people on pensions. They've got a West Australian fuel card which gives people on pensions $575 a year worth of petrol, basically, which helps you with your travel, or you can use it to pay for taxis as well, which is great if you're on a pension. So
Right.
That's something else that comes from that. So that's one of the ways that you can do things like that, even if your votes aren't exactly geared so that you get more rural representation.
We also desperately need health care.
Hell yeah.
You know, it is absolutely horrendous that we're the only country in the world that does not make sure that all of our people are taken care of as far as healthcare goes.
Yeah, but think about all those companies that would fold. That's all it is.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like the companies like have too much sway, and unfortunately, you know, your voice as a voter doesn't really matter. You are literally picking your oppressors because it's the corporations that are doing.
One of the problems you guys have as a country is, and it's one of your greatest strengths, is your population. You've got this massive population, which means that you've got a high level of income as a country, which means you have, for those who are the haves, you have a great standard of living. You have access to all the new stuff. You're always on the cutting edge. But it's also a disadvantage in that if you want to make drastic changes, the cost to society as a whole is enormous as well. So you might have a $1 trillion budget, but to significantly change something like healthcare, it's going to have to be a plan that goes over 8-10 years, which is longer than the term of a president can be. Therefore, it's something that's not in their interest, because politicians are only ever thinking about the next 4 years. That is it. Or at the moment for your president, they're thinking about the next 2 years. And this is your problem in politics. And we have the same thing in Australia. An example we have here is our roads. Now, you can build roads that you put down, and you've got a good base put in them, and you've got the right constitutes of tar and aggregate, and the road can last, even with trucks running on it, for 15-20 years. But the cost of building that road is 4 times the amount of building one that will have to be redone in 5 years' time. But you will save that quarter. You'll spend that quarter less if you're in politics, because you're only thinking about the next 4 years. And that repairing that road is going to be in your next term. So it's an entirely different budget. So you can make your budgets look better by spending less now. But it's a false economy, because in the long run, it's going to cost you 8 times as much to do it. The NBN project that happened in Australia is a great example of that. The Labor government wanted to build fibre to the home for every single Australian, or almost every single Australian. There were some regional areas where you'd have to run a fibre cable like 200 kilometres, and that's not viable. But for the majority of semi-urban and urban Australians, you would have had fibre to your premises. Now, when government changed and the Liberal Party got in, which is our Conservative Party, I know that makes no sense at all. They changed that. They decided, oh no, we want it to be cheaper and we want to be able to build it quicker. So we ended up with this hodgepodge of fiber to the node and satellite and stuff like this. So slower speeds. And in the end, it took them just as long to build it. It has cost them 4 times as much money, but they were able to split it out over a longer period of time. And now they're having to go back and rebuild it because it's not good enough. But that's the thing, that they don't care, because if you can spread it out, that's better. So your problem for updating your healthcare system is purely one of money. To change your healthcare system to healthcare for everyone is going to cost the government a lot of money and it's going to require a good compensation system for all the insurance companies that this is going to affect their bottom line of, because you can't just enact the thing and destroy the company. As much as we as individuals like that, you have to have a staggered in thing that takes time and enables the companies to change their processes and stuff and tries to make the best of it for everybody. This is why it won't happen, because no one's going to commit to a 6, 7, 8 year program to give healthcare for everyone. Even the Democrats won't do that.
Well, yeah, that's the problem the U.S. has, is we keep electing people to 4-year terms and they enact 5-year plans so that they're out of office before we see the cost for it.
Yeah, and if it's in the first term of a president, they try to do things that aren't too controversial. So if they are in for the next term, it doesn't look too bad.
Which is why I'm not. Which is one of the reasons why I'm not in favor of term limits. Yes, term limits will keep you from having someone like Mitch McConnell in there forever, and you can't get rid of them. But term limits also cause your politicians to be thinking in terms of short term and never in long term.
Wouldn't you have been better off to have Obama have a third term than have Trump?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, I don't understand. If the person who's president is good enough and is young enough and is capable enough and everything to maintain the job, why shouldn't they have a third term or a fourth term or whatever else?
We didn't used to have term limits on the presidency until FDR won 3 terms because he was instituting social democratic policies that, if those had continued in that trajectory, we would have been leading the world in having universal health care and like universal basic income.
Back in a time when it could have been done. See, that's the thing. So for when Australia took on universal health care, we had a population for the entire country of about 24 million. That is manageable. You can change how the whole system works when you've got a smaller population and it's less of your GDP to make that change. For you guys, the thing that makes you one of the greatest nations on the earth is also your limiting factor on being able to make changes. So instead of being able to make quick, decisive changes for the better of your country, you are a monolith. You move so slowly in everything.
Well, and that's why I keep saying for so many things that we're not going to change it by making a sweeping change on the federal level. We have to get to change state by state, and once you get 10 states to do the same thing and a couple of them show that it's starting to work, then you'll get a lot more of them to join in until you get the whole thing to do a domino effect.
Yeah.
The easiest way for it to happen, actually, and it wouldn't be great for people, but it would eventually get there in the way that you said, it would be for the federal government to assign a value that they want to put into healthcare for everybody based per head, and then send that amount of money gets sent to the states to use, and then the states can enact their own policies. And what you will find is that the more progressive states will enact better policies that makes for a better public health system.
Yep.
And you'll find people shifting to states that offer them a better health system. So those states get more money, and then the other states go, oh, we're going to get less money. Oh, well, we better start changing our
Actually,
policies. So
that's pretty much the system we have now, that Medicaid is funded by the federal government, but the money is given to the states. And but the states administrate it. The states decide what will and won't be covered.
Yeah, I mean, it will work.
Again, I knew this, and this was a big reason I wanted to get back to Minnesota, because I knew that Minnesota, the Medicaid is far, far better than it was in New York or Michigan. That the stuff I'm doing now would not have been covered in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be more money in it. Is there a requirement of the states to spend their Medicaid money on Medicaid?
I don't know that much about it. Yeah.
I believe so. I'm not certain, but I believe so.
Yeah,
it wouldn't
What'd you say,
surprise
Junkshop?
me if
I said, oh God, let's hope so.
it wouldn't surprise me if there's ways around that. For example, Medicaid money could be spent on infrastructure rather than individuals for health. So the states building themselves better things to help the more wealthy people, and more so than the people who actually need the help. Because you can redirect money if you're smart enough to the people who doesn't need it. It probably needs better regulating as to where the money goes, and it probably needs to be a bigger share of the pot. So the value per person needs to be higher, so that you can properly do that.
I think their argument is like, well, let's help the rich people so that the rich people can hopefully cross your fingers and help the poor people.
Yeah, well, that's
trickle-down economics never works. Yeah. It has never worked.
Yeah, they've been pushing that since Reagan was in office, and we haven't seen any results yet.
Reaganomics. Oh, trickle-down economics is older than that, though.
No, but I mean, in the U.S., that's been the dominant theory for the last 50 years, and we haven't seen any effects.
because it doesn't work. It's never worked. It's just the cool sign of conservatives because it means they can put more money in their own pocket and they have a reason to justify it.
Yeah, but if we've gone a full 2 generations and we're not seeing the payoff yet, it's time to abandon that.
Yeah, but they won't because it puts money in their own pockets and their friends' pockets. And it's money. It's jobs for my mates or money for my mates.
That's what we have to convince, the working class conservatives that, this is not getting you anywhere. You're not any better off than your parents or your grandparents were. You're worse off because you keep voting for the people who keep telling you this is going to work and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been going for an hour and 25 minutes now, so it's time for us to start wrapping things up. And so I'm going to go around and give everyone a chance to give any closing thoughts they might have and shill for anything that they might want to shill for. And Kitty, let's start with you.
Okie dokie. I will shill for Thursday nights. I am either on the What the Fuck show with Jen and Will, or the Sewing Circle with Will when Jen can't make it, or something comes up, what have you. But so like
team.
Yeah. Officially, which I was super grateful and happy for.
And effectively this week, the topic this week on the What the Fuck show is all Kitty's idea. So
we'll be
she's
talking
more or less
about
running
COVID stuff. So anyways, so definitely tune in for that. It is 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday night. And other than that, that's the only thing that you're guaranteed to see me in. It's the only thing that I really have a commitment to, whereas I get invited to other streams, and if I'm free and feeling up to it, then I'll pop in. If not, I'll just listen to it as background noise while I'm doing other things. But that's about it.
Okay, very good. Jen.
Well, Kitty's basically done the main thing I wanted to do for this week. Yeah, what she said. Aside from that, and it hasn't happened this week because my brother ended up back in hospital again. I am planning on doing a science to sci-fi stream, and I'm in the process of organizing some cool guests for that. So that'll be a fun stream to have. Kitty, Will, and myself are talking about a new What the Fuck show quiz show that we're working on. I have some ideas, and it might mean that we may end up doing that show as a pre-record, just so that I can cut it in and make it look good. Because it's also, if you're going to do something where the idea is you have a panel show where you're trying to be funny, recording at a couple of hours of us talking about it, we will go off on tangents, and something like that needs to be more focused. So being able to cut out the bits where we go off and maybe put them up later as little side things makes more sense than a full-on stream, although we might stream the occasional one as well and then do a cut-down version afterwards once I'm organized. And there's a stream I'm doing with Kitty and Purple, and I haven't organized a day for it yet with them because, again, I got busy with my brother in hospital, where we're going to be doing something I was going to do as a solo video, but we're going to do it as a stream where I'm going to be talking about the how to overcome gag reflex.
Okay.
So.
Junkshop.
Well, my schedule's a little all over the place right now. I can't seem to reconcile my creative output with the real world schedule, but I'm on the Junkshop Library YouTube channel, where we make fun of the Bible and the Book of Mormon and whatever else drops in our collective lap. And on the various podcasting platforms, I've just recently started something called the Chronic Atheist Podcast, which is an audio-only format where I talk about mental health and chronic health issues. And that's been fun.
Speaking of which, did you get a diagnosis?
Not yet. We've got MRIs and such coming up on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
when you were doing when you were doing the weekly mental health live streams, that was the thing I really looked forward to on your channel.
I would love to bring those back. I just haven't found a good time slot for them.
Yeah, that's always a challenge. B, what you got going on?
Who, me? No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Let's see. So everybody knows I do my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. I changed up my Monday. It is now called Root and Branch, and it is a interview platform, which Granny knows about but anyways, my guests are
I
secret.
watched one this morning.
Yeah. That's right. But anyways, my guests are secret, and they don't even know who the other guests are that are coming on. They don't find out until they get there. So it puts a little mystery in it and a little fun. So I do 3 short interviews, about 15 to 20 minutes for each one. And then we bring them all in together, let them ask each other questions and stuff. And basically I'm just doing it so everybody can get to know each other. And the people that don't know creators that are on the fringe of this group we're in or whatever, we can expand. So, and I think that that all creators spend so much time talking about their content, they don't talk about themselves. So nobody gets to know them. So that's why I decided to start doing it.
Yeah.
So that's on Monday nights from now on. And we did one last night. I think it came out pretty good. I think it was a lot of fun. So
yeah, we're watching that last night. It was good.
Thank you, Purple. I appreciate that. And then, Wednesdays and Fridays, or Wednesday's supposed to be history night, but it ends up just being an open mic. So everybody's welcome to come and join. Don't be afraid to hit me up on Twitter if you want to come in and talk for a little bit or whatever. So, and thank you, Granny, for asking me to come up on this. That meant a lot to me. And, I adore you and I think you're amazing and you have way undersubscribed, but congratulations on the 2000 anyways.
Yeah. Congratulations on the 2000s. I missed that bit. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm still not properly awake. That's the problem.
Oh, hey, that's okay. I've been having one of those days. When I made the thumbnail for this, I was trying to remember who I all invited. And the first time I made the thumbnail, I actually left Purple off of it. And then the second time I made the thumbnail, I didn't realize until today that I never asked Jyuni. I put Jyuni in the show and I forgot to ask Jyuni.
Oh, wow. You're lucky Jyuni was here.
You think Judy's awesome, huh?
Well done, Jyuni. You win.
My memory has just been a little bit off these last couple of days.
That's okay, Granny. I came in and said hi to everybody at the beginning of the stream and when I first came, I never even get a chance to say hi to you because we all started talking. So there you go.
But that's normal for all of us.
Yeah, well.
So, Purple, what do you have going on?
Well,
Although we kind of just heard, yeah.
Well, my 2 regular streams this week. Although, while I generally have tried to avoid doing 2 serious things in the same week, this week I am. That tomorrow at noon we'll be doing International Sex Workers Day. And then Thursday night at midnight, going into Friday morning, we're going to be doing an episode on surviving abusive relationships.
Good. Awesome.
Jyuni, what do you have going on?
Well, I am on the process of trying to finish my interviews that I've had within the last month. But I've been having computer issues, so I'm surprised that it was stable throughout the whole stream today. I am planning on taking a break, at least for the summer, and then coming back to do a sort of season 2 of my horror stories, and that's coming in September.
Awesome.
But I'm very happy to have been part of this this little corner of the community, and it was very, I'm just very happy that to see you grow here.
Thank you very much, Jyuni. Appreciate that. Okay.
Well, we're glad you found us, so I just want to throw that out there. because I think you're
thank you.
great and sweet and considerate and all that good stuff. So
Yes.
I try to
And-
keep to myself.
maybe that's why we all think you're
And I
amazing.
can't.
We don't hear very much from you. I don't know.
Shush, B. That's
You forgot
not
to mention
nice.
the awesome
I'm
artwork.
just teasing. I love Judy.
You forgot
do a
to
lot of
mention the
artwork on
awesome
the side.
artwork. Yeah. You know, Judy
Yeah.
Oh,
did
yeah,
my
the
new
awesome-
avatar.
It's true.
I wish I
I'm
could look
jealous
that
of your
cute in
avatar.
real life, but I'm jealous of my avatar. I can't look that good.
I disagree, Perps. I mean, we've seen you
Purple,
on camera.
And
Okay.
I absolutely fell in love with Jenny's avatar when she had it on. Like, I'm just surprised to see how they all come out.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I'll have one for everyone.
Aw.
Yes. I need a Jyuni original. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do an animation for you.
aw,
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel so special. That just made me happy. Thank you.
Well, there was an idea that ran into one stream. I forget if it was the What the Fuck show, or if it was the sewing circle. But yeah, when I get to it, I'll show you and see what happens.
You've had the
Oh, I'm
inspiration,
giddy
just not
now.
the time to do it.
All
Oh
these
yeah,
people showing
and I'm
up,
thinking of
and
going back
Granny's
to
about
school.
to end it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what I have coming up next week, I have another episode of Why Are We Here? And we will have Vice Rhino along with Mr. Bear, Jim Neighbors, and Jenna Belk. So that,
Nice.
yes,
That's
I
a
know.
nice
I have
panel.
I have a
Awesome.
very nice panel for next week's show. So do not miss next week at 7 p.m. Central. I've been working a little bit more on making memberships possible for my channel. I just finished writing the script for the introductory video. You have to put a short video, talking about membership in order to do that. And then I have one more step after I get that done. So it won't be too much longer before I'll have memberships available. As far as produced video this week, I was doing one that was a response to Standing for Truth, but the science got too deep for me. And I finally said, if I do this, I'm going to make some major mistakes because I don't totally know what I'm talking about here either.
I'll talk to you about it after. I'm interested to know what the science
Racemization of amino acids in rocks.
Oh, you
All right,
should
well, see
do
you guys
that.
later.
Oh,
Yeah.
You should have a talk to Maro and do it as a collab.
I was trying to do it as a collab with someone else, and then it kind of fell through, and that's probably a good idea.
Message
And
Maro.
actually,
I mean,
yeah,
it's her field. Message Maro.
her and Mel do those shows together too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You might be able to jump in on that and discuss it with both of them.
Okay.
They have a great time, and the two of them together is amazing.
I've been
Yeah.
getting some advice from Steve Bowman, but it just wasn't quite enough. I was having to go back and forth to him too often.
Right.
You know,
But yeah,
Ma-
a full collab would be better.
in that
Yeah,
whole subject
Maro
title,
would
I
always
think
be
rocks
for
is
that,
the only
so.
part I understood.
oh.
I understood it, but it's not my field. So, but Maro, ask Maro. Mel's usually really, really busy, so it's probably going to be
it's true.
easier for you to get Maro on a collab, and she's awesome, and she's always up for stuff like that. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's right up her alley.
I
yeah.
will look into that. Okay. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Junkshop. Thank you, B. Thank you, Purple. Thank you, Jyuni. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You have been a wonderful audience, and you've contributed greatly to the discussions. We've had some good discussions, and I look forward to seeing all of you again next week for another episode of Why Are We Here? So
Well, thank
Everyone-
you for inviting me.
Congrats to Granny. Like,
Yes,
we need to say
congrats,
this
Granny.
again because honestly,
Well done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
if it weren't
deserves
for
many
Granny, I
more.
wouldn't have
Spread
met
the
anybody.
love,
Yeah.
right?
and go and sub to everybody who's been here.
yes,
or who is
and
here,
the links
because-
to everyone's channels are in the description.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks, Granny.
And go and retweet Granny's videos. She should be growing faster than this. More people need to be aware of her.
It surprises me that you don't have a ton more views on your videos than you get, Granny. I find it amazing that you're not looking at 400 or 500 views on every single video. That's where you should be at with the number of subs you have and how good your stuff is with the production that you do. It should be that.
Thank you.
Granny, real quick, have you ever gone on with Atheist Edge?
Yes, I did. I was in the collab project with Atheist Edge.
Good.
The series. Yeah.
Jim just loves you. We were talking about you last night because I was telling everybody, hey, don't forget, tomorrow is Granny's stream. I was trying to, put it out there for you. And he was just like, oh, she does great. There used to be back in this day, this woman named this, and she kind of picked up the torch and does the same kind of content, and it's brilliant. And they just love you. So I think maybe you should poke Jim a little bit more, and see if he's got some time and you guys can get together and maybe he can put you out there a little more because he thinks you're great and he's right. So yeah,
he was in the chat a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
I don't know if
absolutely.
he's still there, but yeah.
No, he left a little while ago, but
There we go. I've got celebration.
I encouraged him to come by, everybody.
For Gigi.
Kitty, you're silly. Thank you for having us all on, Granny. We really appreciate you and we love you.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
So everyone, live your life.